Hey everybody, Bridgelyn Dolgoff, Consciousness of Economics and Urban Farm Projecto. Anyway, I think things are getting more balanced. The radio show on Revolution Radio took up a lot of time. There was a lot of really negative stuff and negative conflict and just a ton of abuse. I was abused by, so many white guys on, people feel threatened. And even if you're not threatening them, all right, they want to control you, manipulate. So I haven't even missed a beat. Like, I keep forgetting, like Saturday would have been my radio show. So it's just the radar. So I'm just reconfiguring, my scheduled time. And so doing good on my 20 Minutes with Bridget up on Patreon. You can see the blogs for it. Patreon, you can choose, if you want to just donate $5 a month, and I put up a lot of content. And then I've got my Sunday talks that I'm doing, carrying stones and digging holes talks. And so I'm pretty excited about everything that I'm doing. It's really interesting though, because right now, because I lost my van and, my foothold, it was kind of what I lived in and traveled in, and I couldn't get the money to actually fix it because the tranny, was going bad, and then the fuel pump went out, and it was just beyond overwhelming. So I ended up, donating the van, so, which was hard. Like, there isn't a day that doesn't go by that I miss my van, because, I could go sleep in it, or I slept in it. It was my quiet space. It was my space. If I was taking a class, or I needed to go somewhere, or needed to go visit somebody, I had it. I could sleep in it, like, just take care of everything. And as far as helping the homeless, Food Not Bombs, and getting tons of donated stuff, to help them, the homeless under the bridge, I had the van. There was that extra area that I could put this stuff in. Now I don't really have a car. This car I borrow kind of for trade. And so, so I'm kind of, living on a floor, sort of, like part-time kind of a thing. Kind of, hopping around just because I don't really have, a roof over my head. And, things got harder starting, like in December. You could see the economy slipping. So just was impossible to re-get, a vehicle and get a foothold and all that. But anyway, I want to talk today about, it's interesting because, watching people's behavior, is really bizarre. And, I like to talk to people about this stuff because it gives you a sense of maybe your behavior that you can work on to help fix. So that you don't continue to do the same stuff that you're doing. So currently I'm kind of, helping out a friend, and, blah, 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 blah. And they have, like monster, let me just tell you, monster addiction. I mean, there isn't any part of their life that they don't have monster addictions of all kinds that are going on, and it really rules them. Addiction keeps you from going to your heart. It keeps you from being able to access higher chakras or your higher self, or whatever else that you want to call it, because the addiction triggers and it controls your mind like a parasite. Controls your mind, controls your body, controls everything until you get that addiction, no matter what it is. It can be shopping, it can be video games, it can be drugs, it can be alcohol, it can be food. And so one of the addictions that this person has, because of their other, underlying alcohol and drug addictions that they never actually resolved, is they have this autopilot thing that happens. If somebody around them appears like, maybe they're doing something that's a little bit more successful, or they feel competitive on some level about the thing, how it triggers them psychologically, they will do things in the environment to halt that other person from any kind of like just success or getting, the things done. And so, for example, today, my talk was on the third eye chakra addiction, and things of that. But it was interesting for recording my 20 minutes of Bridget, and I'm doing it in the vicinity where this person is. And they consider themselves like, conscious and spiritually achieved and all this other stuff. And, I have a master's degree in metaphysics. And, I'm this and I'm that. And it's like, but you live your life from one addiction to the other, and sometimes juggling multiple addictions simultaneously. And so today I get on, this person is doing nothing. They're listening to their headphones on their computer. But as soon as I get changed and I sit down and, like I think the person subconscious can tell or whatever. So here they are, like playing video poker. And then, as soon as I start my episode, they decide, for the last 3 hours, they've done nothing. They've just sat. They've had all the coffee they needed, the breakfast they needed, blah, 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 fed their addictions, and are quiet, in that junkie period where you're just like checked out. So they get up and they decide that they're going to do all kinds of things. They're going to sweep the floor. They're in the kitchen banging stuff around. They're deciding that they're going to reorganize the kitchen. Then they're going to make breakfast, which they already had breakfast, and then they're using the microwave, and then, they're stomping around, and then they're going to the bathroom, and they're walking around, and then burping really loud, and then, like singing. Sometimes this person will start doing with his headphones on, like, it doesn't even make any sense. And it's so weird, like, how the addictive patterns do really crazy stuff and give you really crazy behavior. And so the whole time I'm like doing it, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to ignore this person. I'm not going to feed into their stuff. And if there's banging and clanging and farting and people can hear it on the video, I mean, that's what it's going to be. Because number one, I can't feed that behavior. And it's interesting because, when it first started up, right when I was doing the class, there was this moment where I realized, like, his addictive behaviors, his addictive, personality is actually trying to start a fight with me, or for me to like look up from what I'm doing and make a statement like, shh, could you be quiet, right? Which is distracting me. And it's so bizarre, like, how the addiction personality wants to pick fights, wants to lower people, wants to stop other people from being successful or, getting things done so they can move ahead. And, we could call it, demonic, because there is altered personalities that the person that is behaving this way is not controlling. I mean, they can't control them at all. They're on autopilot to these behaviors. So the thing is, even if I was to like, confront the person and say, look, this happened with my radio show and stuff like that, but it kind of escalated today. So, but, if I said, hey, like you you're doing this, blah, 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 blah. And then, and then he would say, I don't know what you're talking about. And, in some instances that could be correct, because it's the addictive personality, right? It's not really him. He's in there somewhere, but the addiction is covering up, any human personality traits. So, you could get in a big fight with people over this kind of stuff, but that's what they want. That's what they need. They probably need to be punished because they feel like they need to distract you, or some part of you needs to be distracted because they're not good enough, or, whatever their storyline or their addiction or their patterning is. So it's best. I know it's hard. There are days where I would just like to, have one of those, rock projectile things, you put on your wrist, marble shooters, and just, hit these kinds of people in the back and the head, like boom, wake them up. But then it's going to distract me from doing what I need to do as an individual. So I've really been kind of messing around with watching a lot of people creating their own hell on earth and then playing that out. And I realized getting mad, confrontation, communication, all that's not going to work, because this person is not in the capacity at this time to be able to be a human in alpha brainwave patterning, to be able to actually carry out a conversation in a conscious way. They're in a very deep theta pattern, which is low. It's the lowest, brainwave pattern, and it's a picture consciousness, like I talk about. Anyway, so how did I deal with it? I dealt with it by noticing that he was doing these kinds of things, and that that I'm not going to engage them. I'm not even going to look up from my class, and even though that it started to accelerate into all kinds of different stuff, not gonna bite. I see you, I see what you're doing, but yeah, I'm focused in on what I'm doing, and just let it play out, and not have an attachment to what people hear in the background of my videos on my 20 minutes, or my talks, or even this video, and just not be attached. If they're grunting and groaning and farting and banging stuff, there's nothing that I could really do about that. And obviously, the more that I would try to talk to them about it, it's not going to help it either. It's going to probably make it worse, because then they're going to their chip on their shoulder, they're going to want to pick a fight. And this is what I'm into, is I'm focused in on, what I'm doing, and paying attention, and being awake, and being aware, and watching, other people's behaviors, but not engaging in it, right? Observing, not forgiving, but knowing where they're at, and not even understanding, but just knowing that that's where they're at, and this is where I'm at, and I'm just not going to engage. I'm going to keep my energy straight. I'm going to keep my intention straight. I'm going to keep it focused, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm just not going to engage on any level. Saboteur behavior, or addictive behavior, or split personality traits, or any of these other things that a lot of these people are dealing with. And the other big thing is that it's not my job to fix them. It's not my job to fix them or give them the information to fix them. Because if they wanted to be fixed, they would have fixed themselves a long time ago. Now, this brings me to another thing, which is that I'm not having a relationship with this person. This person's much older. They have, early dementia. They don't want to deal with it. So, I try to help out and keep like normalcy there, for using the car and using, sometimes a place to sleep on the floor with my dog. And so the other thing is too, is that, you can't have a working relationship, the husband and wife relationship, or, a child-parent relationship, or any kind of, relationship with people that are in these cycles, right? So ignoring them and not hooking into them and not being hooked into their stuff isn't going to work when you have to interact on a deeply personal level with your children or your partner. And so then that brings you to another thing. Is your partner or, standing in the way of you having health? Mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. Because if they are, and you're not going to really be able to have a discussion, you're not going to break through. It's going to be fight after fight, which is you're trying to control and manipulate the other person when we fight. Get them to do things the way that we want them done, which is a whole other waste of time and energy, and really unfocused energy. In this world, we really need focused energy, a balance. We need to get the hell out of spending time being, seriously unbalanced. And so fighting or arguing or any of these things are unnecessary. What you need to do is remove yourself from the situation. And people are like, yeah, but I can't do that because of this and the other thing. No, you are unwilling to do it. So you are allowing this stuff to happen because you're addicted to it on some level. It served you in some way. Arguing, yelling, punishment, being right, egotism, insecurity, whatever roles are being played out, it's called codependency. You're addicted to, whatever the other person, even if you don't like it. So that's another problem. That's another addiction, right? That's another behavior. So all these things are, it's good to just notice and pay attention. And the other thing is, don't think you're crazy. Because if you feel like you get an insight moment and you're like, wow, I think this person is doing this, then they probably are. Right? They probably are 100% doing it. And so pat yourself on the back for being awake enough to notice that it's going on, right? All right, everybody, that is your video for today. I hope it helps. I hope you get something out of these videos, because that's what I'm trying to do, is trying to be more grounded and, with providing information so people have, better ideas and thoughts and insights, All right, everybody, Conscious of Economics, Urban Farm Project, have a great day. Over and out.